Which is sponsored by Santa Clarita In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Gene Dorio.
On your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guests this morning are Arif Halaby, of Total Financial Solutions. Here he is.
I deserve that because I walked in a few minutes late.
Yes, you did.
It's a different name, rhymes with sheriff. That's kind of what I say.
And later in the hour, we will be speaking with Kim Wall, who's an alternative medicine advocate. And Arif, welcome.
Hi guys, thank
Better
you so
late
much.
than never, huh?
I know, it's my office is so far away. It takes so long to get here.
And for people who don't know, it's right next door.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin is you have your own show here, and I'm lucky enough to listen on KHTS to your shows. And, because I'm driving, I don't get to listen to all of it, but, you and your partner and everybody you have on, I think are giving information that to especially the people here in Santa Clarita who might be a little bit older, and telling them with your money, now you have your nest egg or whatever you have, don't be outrageous with it. Don't risk losing all of it. And I just love the information when you're putting it out there. I just love the information that you're giving to the people here in Santa Clarita.
Well, thanks, Dr. Dorio. One of the things that we have seen is folks have been scared, rightfully so. We don't know. Election years always make some changes. The Brexit thing that occurred, the amount of loss that people took. We looked at our client base and said if the group of clients that we had were in the market, it would have been $9 million lost in one day.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any clients.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was just an enormous number, and thankfully they're not in the market, and we avoid that craziness. So here are some ideas that we have found. It's called, I call it untirement. Now,
Untirement.
yes, and I want to say I made it up. I think I did, but I've searched around and it's been used many, many years ago as well. And what I have found is that people will go back to work, and where it used to be, you would go back to work because you wanted to. Today, a lot of people are going back to work because they have to.
They have no choice.
Yes, and it's a little scary because then they're choosing a field which maybe they're not very good at, because by the time they've gone back to work, technology has changed, the community has grown, their connections to the system that they were a part of is now somewhere else, right? So if you've been out of an industry for 5 years today, technology means it's an entirely different industry. Regulations and other things that can move. But where I have seen it is a lot of folks were afraid with the market dropping, and they were told, don't sell, don't do anything, don't make any changes, because, okay, fine. But now the market is back. And now we're up at all-time highs again. And that greed and fear, right? People run
hand
from
in hand,
something.
like the balancing act of life.
And so here we have this situation where if the market's back, now we can make more stable, maybe is a better word, or certainly more informed decisions.
Correct.
And maybe it's time to take some of those winnings off the table. So we look at things like fixed accounts, fixed indexed annuities. You can use a fixed annuity. You can use a CD. I know they're not paying, some of them aren't paying huge interest rates, but there are options out there where you can reduce risk, put your money in a place where you're going to get reasonable returns, and then you can drip it back into the market when you see it drop again, if that is so your risk tolerance. But if you've already made your money, if you've already saved, we tell our clients, look, our job is to not make you rich. It's just to keep you from being poor.
And that fear is always there. They're afraid that what they have could all of a sudden, their loved one needs a medication and it costs $30,000.
That's right.
And they have to find it somewhere. They get it maybe, but there goes that nest egg. It's just shrunk.
I had a friend who had was diagnosed with cancer, and he was 56 years old, and he had to they tried all the stuff that they were doing, and they made some mistakes quite a bit along the way, including in the diagnosis. And all of that, by the time it was done, one of his options was to go down to Mexico. And, it's very controversial. A lot of people will say things. But when your life is on the line and you don't have a choice, look, Mexico doesn't take Medicare or Blue Cross or, United Healthcare or whatever it is. You have to go with cash. And often these physicians are physicians that also work in San Diego or in El Paso or wherever, and they work there once or twice a week or more. But there's just much less cost, but they don't take insurance.
And the other thing about going there and any other place around the world is that these clinics get vetted. So you can go online, look them up, and then, there's always a Yelp that has the 5 stars and say this one has 1 star, or this one has 4 stars.
Yeah.
There's always people with opinions that help you out and guide you. Is this the place where I want to go?
And I would always weed through those and see what works best, just like in your financial choices, right? Part of the challenge is with another friend of mine, his wife was diagnosed with cancer, and he flew to Germany and for certain types of treatment that just is not approved with our FDA, but they have a very similar system and go through. But that was all cash money, of course. So you're right. There are times when we're going to need funds, and it's not going to be contingent on what's happening in China or Europe or Japan or the stock market or the housing crisis. So we always say, as you get older, take your age minus 100. That's the amount of risk you can have. If you're 70 years old, have 30% of your money at risk, spread it out, be safe and balanced. I'm okay with that. But what I don't like is when people have 50-50 and they're 70 or 65 or 80. You're like, come on, folks. Unless you have enough money where you can weather a 30 or 40% decline and not change your lifestyle. So risk is an important part. And when I say retirement, there's 2 reasons people return back to work. One is for the money. But if you plan right and you're safe and when the market's up, you're moving some of that cream off the top and putting it off to the side, then the other reason is purpose. People go back to work because, quite frankly, it's boring.
To be at home.
Oh my gosh. One of the biggest mistakes our clients make, this is what they tell me. They'll come in and they'll say, the biggest mistake I ever made when I retired is I retired.
Yep.
And I'll go, well, what do you mean? Well, I'll give you an example of my own dad. He retired at just before 70 years old. It was a big, had a small travel agency. We like to think it was big, but had a travel agency. People needed things, and it was all the time. You might be stuck in here, or the plane didn't pick you up over here, or you missed your flight. Well, that's in the middle of the night our time, some of these places.
That's right.
So it was taking a toll on him, and he says, I'm going to retire. So after a while, my dad said, it's quite boring. You kids are working. The grandkids are older now. Now, look, if you retire at, pick a number, 62, and your grandkids are 1, 3, and 5, great. You're going to be there. You're fun. But now they are 10, 12, and 15, or 15, 18, 19, right? Now they're older. They've got a life. They'll see you once a week, maybe. And what do? So you
Skype them.
Yeah, your value changes.
FaceTime them.
So we say, look, have a reason to go back to work in a place and a purpose that is what you enjoy. If you handle the money part, then go work for $7 an hour. I'll give you an example. We have a client who is a greeter at one of...
Not greedy.
No, greeter. At one of those...
Walmart.
Yeah, similar. I won't say the name of the store.
Okay.
But she is a greeter at one of those big box type stores. And she has, $1.5 million or something. And I said, how much do you make per hour? She goes, I don't know. I don't even cash the checks. I go, well, they have direct deposit. She's like, oh yeah, I got to sign up for that. And the purpose is not for the money, but she enjoys the people. She sees new people every day. She can be helpful. Young moms that are struggling with a bag and things, she can get in there, and she enjoys that. And she doesn't do it for the money because she's more than fine on her own. So, see, part of the reasons are that loneliness and providing a service. And I can tell you, as a business owner and somebody who works with other business owners, the thought, and I know there's going to be occasional, I don't know, you want to call them jerks, whatever you want to call them. But the thought that there isn't a value by hiring a senior citizen is just ridiculous. All of my business owner friends are like, we would prefer hiring a senior citizen.
Absolutely.
Somebody who doesn't have...
an iPad with them all the time, hanging around their neck.
Or somebody who gets the fact that they're supposed to show up on time. Imagine that. Or actually be nice to people. And it's not selfish and it's not about them. And
Well, seniors have experienced
Life.
They've lived life.
That's right.
In so many different ways.
And that value
every
you can't
facet
you can't buy. It's
No.
a time thing. It just clock
You
ticks. You know.
absolutely cannot buy that. Absolutely. That's experience.
Yes, it is.
There's no doubt about that. But there are some of our not even seniors yet who know that at a certain age they're going to be forced to retire.
Yeah, from
and
their chosen career or the one that they've been with.
County,
That's right.
city, state, my PD friends and sheriffs and fire, they know they're going to be out.
That's
and
right.
I always tell them in advance. For years and decades now, I've been saying, get prepared, be ready, because you will need to have something to do after you finish your work here. When you retire, put the money away, try to find a place, but after a while, doing nothing is going to be tedious to you.
That's
so
right.
find your purpose now, and many do under that advice.
We've had friends, clients that are engineers. I mentioned one the other day on the radio, so if you're listening to both of our shows, that'd be great. Who's a top NASA engineer. I mean, this gentleman is brilliant. And what he does at the local elementary school is teaches kids about basic science. And this man has a resume of things on the moon and the Mars and all this crazy stuff. But he'll tell you when some of the greatest joy he gets in his life is right now teaching elementary kids the basics of science, because look at their eyes, he says.
Yeah.
And he's young, he still moves, he's still excited, he still loves it, and that is a different. Now, I don't even know if he gets paid. If he does, it's certainly not what he was making as a NASA scientist.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of his.
Not the pay.
It's not about it anymore, is it?
No. But there are some people that our seniors who do have to go back.
Yes.
I was visiting a patient, and their property tax is like $8,000 a year.
Wow.
And that they have to come up with that amount of money every year. And I know here in Santa Clarita there have been some seniors who have lost their homes because of that. And that can't happen.
No way.
When that happens, if anybody's listening right now, if you're facing that dilemma, you call us.
That's
because
right.
we're gonna make sure you do not lose your home.
That's right.
That can't happen in this community.
Look, you can pay off your house. That's why a lot of people will say, "Oh, property tax is this," and move over here, and Texas has no income tax, but their property tax is often much higher, sometimes a little bit. So you have to take that into account.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice if you have a home that's paid off, but my goodness, you never pay off property taxes.
Yeah.
That's right. They keep coming and coming and coming and coming.
What about Arif, our seniors who get Social Security and they find a job and they might be on Medicare, Medi-Cal, but if they work, for some reason, they're getting a certain amount of money every month, but if they go over that amount because they're now working, that's subtracted off.
Yeah,
it's like
great question.
They could sit back and not work at all and do the same thing, but here they're trying to find purpose in life, but yet government is subtracting off that money from them and keeping them at the same level, essentially not allowing them to achieve any further.
Yes, there's two phases of Social Security. One is prior to your full retirement age. So for people, let's say that is age 65. Today, if you're retiring, it's usually age 66. So let's just say age 66. That means if you collect Social Security from age 62 to age 66, and you are working and you're earning more than, it's about $15,500 per year, then for every dollar you make above that, they will take, for every $2 you make above that, they will take one from Social Security. So if you earn $20,000 a year, right? Let's just say it's a round number of 15. If you make $20,000 a year, 15 is free, no problem. You'll still pay taxes, but it won't hurt your Social Security. The other $5,000, it's a 2-for-1 split, meaning they will go back to Social Security and pull $2,500 from that.
Now, that to me, that's a negative incentive.
It's silly. And here's the reason. The same reason Social Security was created back in the 30s and the 40s the way that it is today is because if you were an employer and we had massive unemployment and you had a senior citizen working for you, it didn't exist. There was no such thing as a senior citizen. It was just a worker. If I could, as the government, pull you out of the workforce, then that would give 2 jobs of people making less money, willing to work for less money, and the government says, look, we're going to take you off the payroll of that small business or that large company, and you're going to die in 2 years anyway, so it's not going to cost us that much money, and we're going to get 2 people back to work for every one that's on the Social Security system. Great.
Doesn't apply now, does it?
It doesn't. So what the whole system is antiquated. You have it's like taking a Ferrari and you're putting pickup truck parts on it, and you're trying to figure out why this doesn't work. And you can kind of make it work. You can use a hammer. But if you don't address the entire Social Security system that says if you are putting money into it, I don't care how much money you make, folks, you put money into it. It's called stealing. That's what I was taught. You don't take something from somebody and not give it back. But I don't mind if you say, look, if you're taking Social Security at 62 and you make that kind of money, let's push that off to 64. And I know some of my senior friends are not going to be happy, but if 67 is the current retirement age, that's mine, full retirement, make that age 70. Don't take my money away from me. I put it in. If I didn't put it in, that's another deal. But if I put it in, why would you take it?
But every year after, like 62, 63, you get a little bit more. 64,
8%.
It goes up a little bit.
And once they pass that full retirement age, I didn't finish that part,
Yeah,
sorry. Once you pass that full retirement age, 66 or 67, whatever, then you can work, and it doesn't affect your Social Security anymore, except in the late 90s, the Bill Clinton and the Newt Gingrich plan that they came together said we are now going to tax Social Security if you make more than, and there's a grid. So there's a formula that they have, and it's for married, it's one formula, and for single, it's another formula.
So
Interesting.
So let's say, tell me the faults in this thought, that let's say I don't want to retire. Let's say, and I don't want to take Social Security either. Let's say I work until I'm 90.
Yeah.
And I'm still okay. I'm still making medical decisions. Alzheimer's hasn't affected me yet, and I can have good judgment, but still do my work till I'm 90. But I'm continually paying in to Social Security. But my payback is still going up at some like 8%,
sure is.
like you
Yeah.
said.
Well,
is that going to balance the books? Is that useful for that kind of decision? Will that augment the amount of money that's in Social Security so it doesn't go bust for our kids and our grandkids?
Yeah, you have 2 points there. Social Security ends their automatic 8% increase at age 70.
Right now, right.
So if they can push all of those numbers up, instead of 62, make it 64, and if they can make age 70, let's say 75, so it gives you an incentive to stay in the workforce because you'll get a little bit more, but those 5 years matter. And then at the end, when you're putting into it, Social Security has a 35-year window. That means they take the last 35 years of your work. So reasonably speaking, you're probably making more money today than you did 35 years ago. So that increases by a very small amount, that increases the amount that you can take out of Social Security.
Wow. We could talk on and on for
Yeah,
another
on and on
hour
with
or
this,
two
I mean,
about this.
Anytime, guys.
But-
Well, we
And
just
you-
listened to your show. That's the most important.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway,
Tuesdays from
we,
noon to 1 on Tuesday.
Yes. We have to take a break, and I want to thank you, Erev, for
Thanks for having
being
me, guys.
here. And it just wasn't long enough.
Never is.
No, we need to have
anytime.
you on for an hour next time. Let's push for that, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.